27th at the Lion Store, Southwick, Westgate, and Northtown.
WTOL TV, Toledo 11. From Northwest Ohio's leading news team, Sue Parcell, Jeff Heitz, meteorologist Charlie Umpenauer, and Doris Tabner with sports. This is Toledo 11 News Nightwatch.
You're looking at a live picture of the remnants of a primary night party. Toledo area Democrats gathered here at Tony Packo's to monitor the results, talk politics, and cheer on their favorite candidate. Good evening. There was cheering, but it ended early as results from the nation's first 1988 primary came in. We'll be back here in a few moments with reaction from local Democrats. First, let's go to Jeff with news from New Hampshire. Jeff.
Thank you, Sue. Starting with the tiny town of Dixville Notch, at midnight last night, voters in New Hampshire began casting their ballots in the first primary of the 1988 presidential campaign. We get the numbers and the story in this live report from CBS correspondent Dan Rather in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Good evening. Dan Rather reporting from CBS News New Hampshire primary headquarters. George Bush and Michael Dukakis were big winners in the nation's first primary. Remember, Iowa was a caucus state. There were strong showings by some others, and some candidacies now seem buried in the Granite State snow. Let's look at results of today's primary voting. First among the Republicans, George Bush, the vice president, the winner. He was third in Iowa, but first in New Hampshire, and a solid win, an impressive comeback for the vice president. Bob Dole, the senator from Kansas, who was first in Iowa, finishes second in New Hampshire. Jack Kemp, the upstate New York congressman, is third. A fourth-place finish for Pierre Pete DuPont, the former governor of Delaware. Pat Robertson finishes fifth and, for all intents and purposes, last in New Hampshire because Al Haig dropped out of the race last week. So Bush wins. Dole finishes second. Kemp is third among the Republicans. Now, on the Democratic side, having said that Michael Dukakis, as expected, is a big winner here, the next-door neighbor state governor from Massachusetts, Richard Gephardt, the son of a milk truck driver in Missouri and the representative from the Show Me state, finishes second in New Hampshire. Gephardt and his followers breathing a sigh of relief because they think they needed this to help them raise money. Paul Simon, the senator from Illinois, whom many thought needed at least a second-place finish here to stay in the race long range, doesn't get it. He finishes third. After a very hard fight, Jesse Jackson, the Reverend from Chicago, finishes fourth in New Hampshire, a state with less than 1% of its population black. An impressive showing for the Reverend Jesse Jackson here. Albert Gore, the senator from Tennessee, who has most of his chips bet on Super Tuesday down south, finishes fifth here. Babbitt and Hart finish in that order. Dukakis first, Gephardt second for the Democrats, Simon third. Dan Rather reporting from our primary night headquarters in New Hampshire. We'll have a special broadcast on the primary later tonight after your late local news.
That special report will be seen here on Toledo 11 at 11:30. So George Bush will leave New Hampshire a winner over Bob Dole and the Republican pack, but Mike O'Connell reports many experts say Bush still has some major image problems he must overcome to win his party's nomination.
The vice president will be trying to sell his New Hampshire showing as proof he's out front in the race for his party's presidential nomination. But Bush was expected to do well so close to home soil.
A Dole supporter would probably say that 8 or 10 points is not particularly a strong showing given his closeness geographically and within his family to New Hampshire.
It would hardly be the first time Bush has been slighted. He's been picked on by comedians and the rest of the candidates. Gary Trudeau's Doonesbury portrays Bush as the invisible vice president with a squeaky voice trying to fight his wimpy image. It's almost all criticism of his image, but it's image that counts when you're running for president.
And George Bush, I suspect, would benefit 2 or 3 percentage points in the poll if somehow he could contrive to lower his speaking range half an octave.
Bush has struggled to improve the image. His nationally televised verbal brawl with Dan Rather was carefully planned to toughen his look. He's worked with a voice coach. Lately, Bush has dropped suits in favor of casual jackets.
This is more to appeal to the common man, to bring him down to the level of the typical American, and so that they feel like they can relate with him.
The vice president now has 3 weeks to refine the image. The next big tests are the Super Tuesday primaries on March 8th. Mike O'Connell, Toledo 11 News.
The man who heads the Bush campaign locally is well known in Republican quarters, Jim Brennan. Thanks for coming in tonight, Jim.
Thank you, Jeff.
Abe Lincoln wouldn't stand a chance in 1988, would he?
He wouldn't have much of a chance, no. I'm afraid not.
How important was tonight's win for the VP?
I think it was very important. It demonstrated that he was able to come back from Iowa, which was painted to be a disaster. And supposedly Senator Dole had gained on him, and it was a dead heat. As a matter of fact, one of America's great newspapers this evening has as a headline, "Dead Heat Between Dole and Bush." And a dead heat is not a 9-point win. So I would say a very significant victory. He did very, very well.
Does it bother you at all that small states like Iowa and New Hampshire are so important early on?
Well, yes, it bothers me significantly, particularly in the case of Iowa, where you had that really what was a straw poll. You had 225,000 people out of a population of 4.2 million that were voting. But what's happened is the media, with the able assistance of the candidates, I don't blame the media at all, has made it very, very important. Now, New Hampshire, at least, is a primary. It's an honest-to-God election. You have to be a registered voter to vote, and you have to be registered in the party that you vote in, and all that sort of thing. So at least that is a political test. The Iowa thing we might just as well have out in the backyard. Might better, as a matter of fact, we get a better sample.
Jim Brennan, thanks very much for coming in tonight, and I'm sure we'll hear more from you as the campaign progresses.
I would hope so. Thank you, Jeff.
Good night, Jim. Toledo Democrats spent this evening watching the returns roll in at Tony Packo's in East Toledo. Sue Parcell has spent the evening getting reaction from the other side of the political aisle, and she joins us live. Sue?
Jeff, as we indicated earlier, Tony Packo's was packed with Democrats earlier this evening, but the party pretty much ended when the results came in. And for some Democrats tonight, you might say the party ended, period. Local Bruce Babbitt supporters in particular had very long faces tonight. There's little doubt in their minds that Babbitt will soon drop out of the race. There's a great deal of doubt in their minds as to who they'll support next, if anyone. Paul Simon supporters did not look a lot happier tonight, and one of those Simon supporters joins me now. Kurt Landefeld, thanks for being with us. How do you read Simon's third-place finish tonight in New Hampshire?
Well, I think obviously the strategy was for Paul to finish second in New Hampshire. He did not, so it's a disappointment. I think he's obviously looking forward to winning in Minnesota next week as a research for his campaign.
Is there any doubt in your mind that Simon will make it through Super Tuesday?
No doubt at all in my mind. I think that he's in through Super Tuesday.
Is he going to have problems raising money at this point? Money is already a problem for him in New Hampshire.
Well, I think he's acknowledged that already. But if he wins in Minnesota next week, he's in the pack for Super Tuesday.
Okay. Should the worst happen, should Simon drop out either soon or after Super Tuesday, where do you see his support going?
Oh, I think it'll drift. I think folks will wait to see how things shake out after Super Tuesday and coming into the Midwest. I think it's really too early at this point to really speculate on where our support would go once he makes a decision one way or the other.
Okay, Kurt Landefeld, thanks for being with us this evening. There were a few happy faces here this evening, Jeff, mostly Dukakis fans, as you might imagine, but most local Democrats left Tony Packo's tonight very unsure of what the next few weeks might bring. Reporting live from Tony Packo's, I'm Sue Parcell. Jeff, back to you.
Thank you very much, Sue. When we come back, the results of a contract vote for workers at the Sun Oil Refinery, and Lee Iacocca admits he made a mistake.
Sure is a lot of corn. One reason is our rootworm insecticide. Look here. Some say to apply in furrow, while universities recommend banding. So we do both with Lorsban 15G in a T-band. It combines in furrow and banding for rootworm and cutworm control.
And that's why we get a lot of corn.
That's right.
Lincoln Mercury announces up to $1,000 customer cash on Mercury Cougar and Sable. Now save $1,610 on Mercury Sable with a popular equipment package and customer cash. Save $1,551 on Mercury Cougar with a popular equipment package and customer cash. Or get $500 customer cash on Mercury Tracer. But hurry, customer cash is a limited offer on the shapes you want to be in. See your Lincoln Mercury dealer today.
Workers at Toledo's Sun Oil Refinery have approved a new contract. Members of the Oil, Chemical, and Atomic Workers Union spent the day today voting on that new pact. Union officials won't release the numbers, But they tell us the 2-year contract is a good one. The pact provides for a 30-cent per hour pay raise in the first year and 3% in the second year of the agreement. In addition, workers receive a $900 ratification bonus. The new contract expires in February 1990. We made a mistake. That's what Chrysler chairman Lee Iacocca told reporters today in Milwaukee. Iacocca has been in hot water with the state of Wisconsin and the United Auto Workers Union since the company announced it was closing its Kenosha operations.
If you think about it, we made a mistake with Kenosha, and I'm here to admit it. We are guilty as hell of being cockeyed optimists, and we're paying the price for that optimism right now.
Iacocca says the company is setting up a trust fund for Kenosha workers who will lose their jobs later this year. The net profit from every new Chrysler vehicle sold in Wisconsin this year will go into that trust fund based on last year's sales. That should amount to about $20 million. Yesterday, we noted the names of 2 more young victims have been added to the list of those stricken with cancer in northern Wood County. That's sparking greater concern about water quality and its relationship to old landfills in the county. The Ohio EPA is looking particularly closely at 3 of them. The old Lake Township dump operated until 1972. The Evergreen landfill still operates, but no longer takes hazardous waste. For 3 years, it did, and put it in an unlined cell. The U.S. EPA wants additional groundwater monitoring systems.
Right now, their system is into the bedrock about 80 feet below the surface. The U.S. EPA wants an early warning system.
The third site is the Asmund's dump, which closed in 1973 after accepting industrial and municipal waste for 4 years. It's now a ball field, and the state EPA isn't even sure what's in it. 2 are believed dead, 8 wounded in California's Silicon Valley as a disgruntled former employee opened fire at his company offices. Frightened employees scampered to safety amid the gunshots late this afternoon. Police say the gunman, identified as 40-year-old Richard Farley, apparently was upset over a relationship with a woman. Witnesses say some employees hid under desks and inside closets until they were able to escape. Farley is reportedly holed up inside a computer room right now. Police say they are negotiating with him. If crowds are not your thing, be glad you're not in New Orleans tonight. It's Mardi Gras, the end of the carnival season. Hundreds of thousands of revelers began jamming the streets of New Orleans late this afternoon for the annual Mardi Gras parade. Partiers come from all over the country, many camping along the parade route. The celebrations mark the last day before Lent, and Christian tradition prescribes 40 days of fasting and self-denial leading up to Easter. The cleanup continues at the Ottawa Hills Elementary School, where a water pipe burst. The school will be closed again tomorrow, but will reopen Thursday. So kids are at least enjoying themselves.
Well, in Mardi Gras, you know, the real cold Canadian air masses have now moved away, and they're in certainly milder conditions, and so are we.
So it won't rain on Mardi Gras, but it might rain on
I won't rule out
us.
some rain now. That's another story.
Can't rule out rain in New Orleans or maybe even in Toledo. We'll find out in a moment. Stay with us.
Spring's almost here. Hay fever won't be far behind.
Grass is coming up. Sneezing's coming on.
Ah, little pink bugs. Soon I'll have little red eyes.
If you have hay fever and want to enjoy this spring, see your doctor. Last year, millions of people got fast, on-the-job relief without the degree of drowsiness they may have had before. Now you can put your hay fever to sleep while you stay awake. See your doctor.
Merrill Dow Pharmaceuticals.
I'm Tom Romer for Romer Insurance. You know, where you buy your insurance really does make a difference in cost and expertise, and that applies to all kinds of insurance: life, health, homeowner, auto, and business insurance. Here at Romer Insurance, we pride ourselves on being thorough and competitive. When we write your insurance, it will be tailored to fit your needs. Check with the others and then call Romer Insurance. We're all you really need.
Romer Insurance, since 1935.
Right now, Savings at Super. Right now, we have the value you want at Elder Beerman Super Sale.
Starting tomorrow, enjoy 6 big days of savings. Fresh new spring fashions, hot new looks, savings for your home. 6 big days to save. Elder Beerman Super Sale. See, spring is sooner than you thought.
For you and your home right now, and everyone in it right now at Elder Beerman Super Sale.
Hello,
on all cars. Call on all cars. Be on the lookout for missing penguin. Answers to the name Pepe.
This week at Kroger, save on Gordon's fish sticks or fillets. The 20-ounce package is $3.69. Stock up on Kroger frozen orange juice. The 12-ounce can, just 99 cents. And save on Green Giant frozen vegetables. Only 77 cents for the 16-ounce bag.
Call on all cars. Call on all cars. Be on the lookout for missing penguin. Answers to the name Pepe.
Let's go. Well, National Weather Service radar of Detroit still indicates some very light showers in extreme northern Monroe County in Michigan and around the Detroit area. And so I'll just have to say there'll be a chance for a random shower later on tonight and tomorrow. But other than that, cloudiness will tend to be variable. And our temperatures right now, 31 degrees, which is fairly representative for most of northwestern Ohio and southeast Michigan. The relative humidity at 85%, the dew point 28 degrees. And we have a rising barometer now, 29.97 inches. Winds out of the south at 6 miles per hour. How cold does it feel with that wind blowing and the temperature? Feels like 25 degrees outside. 21, our low reading this morning, 33 was the high. That's only 2 below the normal for this time of the year. As far as sunshine, we scored 37%. That gave us 3 hours and 56 minutes. And tomorrow, well, we'll see some sunshine also, but maybe not quite as much as that. National temperatures have changed quite a bit from last week. Most readings that are below the freeze mark are across the northern Great Lakes back up into the northeast. Other than that, look at the 70s have expanded across Texas and the southwest, even southern parts of Florida once again into the 70s. And overall, we're not going to see a great change in this temperature pattern through the week across the area. Well, we'll take a look at our next map here and see how our pattern shapes up. Here we go. Here's our cloud map. Notice that the cloud pattern is primarily to our north. You could say the weather blanked out there. Well, anyway, our cloud pattern is to the north, and within this pattern we have scattered snows falling across the Michigan area. And that, of course, is not a really heavy snowfall. Some snow falling across the central Rockies in Colorado around Denver and the Palmer Ridge and down around Colorado Springs in that general region. But overall, what a different map than we had most of last week. There's the snows in the northern parts of the Great Lakes back up into Canada, across the Colorado area, some rains in the northwest, and snows now somewhat diminishing in extreme northern parts of New England. Of course, here's the storm system, the storm track now in Canada. That means we have primarily Pacific air masses affecting our weather all through the week. That simply means a whole different story, milder temperatures, and any precipitation will not be very heavy or not staying around too long either. Here's how we look for tonight. Look for a few mixed showers later on tonight and even tomorrow, about 25 for tonight's low. Wind south to southwest up to 20 miles per hour. And for tomorrow, an occasional shower. We'll also see some sunshine. I want to emphasize that. Winds will be westerly to northerly to 15 miles per hour. About 36 tomorrow and 18 tomorrow night. As far as sunrise, well, we can look for that to occur around 7:28 a.m., sunset at 6:11 p.m. As I see us going into the weekend, Thursday, an increase in sunshine, about 41 for the high. But later on Friday and then for Saturday, another Pacific system in. It'll bring us some mixed showers or some occasional rain. But other than that, Jeff, the change in the weather is certainly more like people would want it to be this time of the year.
Yeah, except it's going to be kind of sloppy, isn't it? Thank you anyway. The Bowling Green Falcons are preparing to play Western Michigan, and the Pears were skating tonight in Calgary. Oris has sports next.
Preview Herbicide presents Cleaner Soybeans, featuring unbeatable control of velvet leaf and cockleburr. Control that lets you rotate without carryover worries to corn or wheat. Preview, Pre or PPI, leaves rotation options open while it brings down the curtain on two tough weeds. Preview, only from DuPont.
Good morning. Well, it's a great day if you're in the traffic.
Introducing the all-new Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. Once you've driven it, everything else is just traffic. Burger King would like to introduce a new word to the English language, yumbo.
Yumbo?
Yumbo. A hot ham and cheese sandwich often known to cause insatiable desire in those who come near it. Found only at participating Burger King restaurants. See also... Awesome.
Extraordinary.
Outrageous. And see also... It disappear. Yumbo. The hot ham and cheese sandwich now at Burger King. And one day in your dictionary.
This is the time of year that everyone starts to think about retirement, tax shelters, and tax-deferred plans. Well, if that's what's on your mind, call the specialist at First Federal Savings of Toledo, because that's where you'll find guaranteed safety and retirement plan tax advantages for everyone. First Federal Savings of Toledo is your source for IRA, SEPs, TIO, and corporate pension plans, and all backed by the safety and security of Northwestern Ohio's largest and strongest federal savings and loan.
I can't skate worth a darn, but every time I looked up at the monitor, it seemed like some poor woman was falling down. They were having some
that's
tough
okay.
times.
That's possible.
But it was always after some
tremendous skating, right. The U.S. has broken the medal drought in the Winter Olympics. It wasn't a smashing success, but the American duo of Jill Watson and Peter Appergard took bronze in the pairs figure skating. As was expected, the Soviet couple of Ekaterina Gordiev and Sergei Surinnikov took the gold, while the silver went to their countrymen, Elena Valova and Oleg Vasiliev, the 1984 champions. Is that marvelous? Appergard of Knoxville, Tennessee, and Watson from Bloomington, Indiana, stood third going into tonight's final long program, and they skated a beautiful one. Well, the surprising Poles continue to surprise in hockey today after a narrow 1-0 loss to the Canadians. Poland came back to tie top-seeded Sweden 1-1. Finland blew out the Frenchmen 11-1. Canada bested Switzerland 4-2. Sergei Boisvert would score the first goal of the game at 4:05 of the second period off the long rebound. But at 11:15 of the period, Peter Schlegerhoff quick release to tie it for the Swiss at 1 each. Canada went ahead again at 4:56 of the third period when Gord Chevron hit from the face-off circle to make it 2-1. Ken Urenichuk put the host country up 3-1 with a slap shot from the top of the circle, 15:04 the final period. Matt Harborside would add another as the Canadians remain unbeaten with a 4-2 victory over Switzerland. Libby Cowboys rolled to a 53-39 victory over Sylvania Southview at the high school basketball program winds down at the moment. Cougars tried some slowdown tactics to keep the game close. Southview's Eric Roy drives the middle, scores. It was only 4-4 after the first quarter, but Libby's pressure eventually causes problems. John White slams one down after the steal. He would lead everybody at 17, and with George Coleman controlling the inside, the Cowboys ran away with a 53-39 win. UT Rocket coach Jay Eck in the crowd, keeping tabs on Libby's Corey Barnett. Barnett is creating a lot of interest late in the year. Whitmer Panthers are one game away from another GLL title. Craig Michaels leading the Panthers with 15 as they drop Northview 71-44. Northview with 28 turnovers. Bren Kowitz would lead the Wildcats in scoring with 11. And Mark Slychek added 12 for the Panthers, who needed a win over Clay on Friday to clinch the Great Lakes League title. A number of other games around the area tonight. Let's take a look at those we had. A couple of top 10 seeing action in college basketball tonight, including number 1 Temple, 1-point winner over Penn State. Number 8 Pittsburgh, a 1-point winner over Providence. Notre Dame defeating Rutgers 75-62. Bluffton by 13 over Dyke. Mount Vernon 85-72 over Tiffin. And in the latest game, Defiance beat Findlay for the second time, 76-61. Findlay only has 2 losses. National Basketball Association tonight. Sacramento defeated Atlanta 118-115. That moves Detroit into a tie in the Central Division. Indiana, a 117-104 winner over New York, and the rest of them are later starters, and that's all the time we have. Wrestling, Toledo 28-10 over Miami, and Rossford beat Springfield 35-28.
And indeed, the Bowling Green Falcons will play Western Michigan tomorrow, and we just ran out of time and couldn't show them that.
Hopefully we can get that to you tomorrow, sir.
And you're on the air tomorrow at 8?
Yes.
Cleveland State and the Rockets. Okay. When Nightwatch comes back, House and Monroe, Michigan residents spell relief.